Welcome back to the Next Level Show, your one-stop shop for everything health, fitness, and a little bit of life, and even some medical stuff. As you can see, Dr. Mike's in the building. You already know that this episode is going to get very informative.
He
All we're
means
missing,
business. When he puts it on, it's you got to just strap on, hold on to your butts.
wherever you're listening to, this episode to, you got to just be ready because you put this episode, repeat it, go back a couple of times, look at the show notes because Mike also does a fantastic job at going to notate every part where we talk about specific points of the chest. This is all going to how to build some impressive chesticles. We're going to make it, dual, right? Ladies, this is also for you. Just a quick little. If you're a lady listening, it's like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. It's all about chest. No, this actually benefits you tremendously as well. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're new to the YouTube channel, what is up? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It just helps it, continue pushing through the algorithm. It's still a small channel. We obviously have a lot more listeners on the audio versions, wherever you're listening to that. But if you want to see our faces, even if you don't, stop the episode, go open the tab or the app for YouTube, search the Next Level Show, and give a subscribe. It's free, guys. Come on, just support the channel. Anything else?
Would you say it's probably a more complete experience if they watch us, right, as opposed to just listening?
Yep, for sure.
You know, some people say that they wear their emotions on their sleeve. I wear my emotions on my face. So a lot of times, how long we've been recording and always make a face, and then sometimes you guys allude to it, but it's I don't know, it's second nature. It's like a knee-jerk reaction for me.
Yeah. We have some good interviews starting to get scheduled and lined up, so we're excited for those. Just kind of branching out and just making this like a nice, like we always have. It doesn't have to be necessarily fitness with macros, frequency training, none of that. It can be other topics that we are interested in, and kind of just bringing on a variety of different guests. That's just fun, man. This is why we do the podcast, and we didn't corner ourselves and just talking about rep sets and rest periods.
Don't they say that like 80% of communication is nonverbal?
Yes. That is correct.
So like
actually,
if you aren't able to see somebody, you don't really get the full scope of what they're trying to communicate. If you're just hearing voices, or if you're just seeing words on a screen, if you're like texting or something like that, it's body language that counts for a lot of it.
Absolutely.
Word.
Yeah. So like, for example, if I were to say something like the new Space Jam was awesome. Yeah, exactly.
You don't know what happened.
So
exactly.
Hold on. So,
you would miss Gabe's reaction. His face changed immediately. I mean, if you're just listening, you wouldn't have seen that.
Is it though? So you liked it, right? So here's my thing.
Mike, before you liked it?
I did like it. Yeah. Okay. Seriously. Like I got what I expected out of it. I was not expecting like an Oscar performance out of LeBron James.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Don Cheadle as the bad guy, and I thought that some of the creative uses of other Warner Brother properties was very funny and well done.
That's literally my favorite part of that movie.
It was exactly what I expected out of it. So in that regard, I enjoyed it.
So what's sometimes hard when there's sequels or remakes or anything, you're always going to compare it to the original, right? So you remember, you've seen obviously The Grinch, but with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome movie. Like incredible. Like when you think of The Grinch, you think of him. You think of Jim Carrey and his performance of it. So anytime like they did an animated version of it, more recently, it was like 2 years ago, something like that. They kind of went in a complete opposite direction because they kind of almost had to. Otherwise, you would always compare it to Jim Carrey's Grinch, right? So here I'm constantly comparing it to the original Space Jam. And I kind of just prefer that one over this one. It's just, to me, it almost seemed as if like they knew the end goal and they just figured out how the hell to kind of get there to the end, which is the basketball game. And it didn't make that much sense to me. Like the story wise, it seemed like it just was going for no reason. Then when they kind of even started playing, then they turned real or they upgraded. It was just like, well, why? Why are you doing that?
They brought the tunes to the digital world. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just looked odd to me, and even the inclusion of the tunes, like. So, I mean, total spoilers here because you can go watch it on HBO Max and whatever. So LeBron, he was like, "Oh, I want to get Superman. I want to get the Iron Giant." So what was the reason for not being able to get them? Did Bugs kind of wanted to say he said no, but I don't even know what was the whole rationale as to not get them.
Well,
He
I think
wanted-
Bugs
well,
Bunny
he-
just kind of like dominated the selection process, basically. So that's
yeah,
what I
he was
gathered
he
from
was
it.
the one steering the ship, and he thought, well, this is
Why
a
would-
perfect opportunity to get all my people back.
Yeah, but if the whole thing is to win the game, why wouldn't you go with?
It's not the point of the movie, dude. It would have been
It's just-
it would have been
Exactly,
Space Jam if it would have brought freaking Superman.
That's
it
what
would
I'm
have made
saying.
sense.
That's what I'm saying as to how they knew the end goal and then they were trying to get there in by some kind of way. That just made no sense to me.
No, you
That
know what I
part.
think they did there? What they did, bro, the best part was the Matrix, dude. That was so good. And the Game of Thrones, bro, I was dead,
Yeah.
bro. It
Yeah.
was so
Yeah.
funny. But
Where was-
see, I appreciated the movie because of that. Because I think what had happened was some of the older movies and like the older cartoons with like of Superman, Batman universe, DC world, those are like the old cartoons. And it's for the people that probably watched originally the first Space Jam when we were younger. We watch this and we can kind of go back and remember the cartoons and like a lot of the different universes that I didn't even know, like some of the actual
properties that belong to
properties
Warner Brothers.
belong to Warner Brothers. I'm like, holy
Mhm.
shit. But it was just more nostalgic and I appreciated that. Yeah, the whole concept of the basketball game, this movie was like horrible. I thought it was so bad, but it is what it is. His acting was mediocre to worse.
Oh,
Like,
it was
pretty
not
bad.
Yeah, it was not good at all.
So
Which
I
I guess made
I-
me appreciate MJ's performance a little bit more
yeah.
because I thought he was fine. But then
It was more natural for what it was.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. It just it took away. It took away from like there was no way it's gonna. The concept of the game itself was just very like, eh. The whole like video game nonsense, and it's just, I don't know.
Dude,
However, I will say this: knowing what I know now, would I watch it again? The answer is yes. That might contradict everything that I just said, prior to this, but I would. I mean, I would watch it again. It was like what Mike said. It was it fulfilled what he wanted. He knew he was going to get out of it. It was just an entertaining movie to watch with the kids or watch with the family. That you can kind of see some old IPOs right there. Like for instance, I think that was one of my favorite parts. Yeah,
You saw it.
Yeah.
all of these kind of characters and different kind of franchises that I had no idea were part of that universe.
I didn't even know Game of Thrones was Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I think the funniest part for me was at halftime for the game when they're like, "Oh my God, we got Michael Jordan," and then like
yes,
the music
yes,
kicks
yes.
in, and then
Yes,
it's fucking
that was-
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
I
Probably
laughed
pissed
at that.
everyone
funniest
that
part.
hasn't watched the movie. We probably like offended everyone.
No.
We stay
No.
offending.
I don't know. That's not like I don't think anybody really took that movie too seriously to the point where
Exactly.
they're
No.
getting spoilers.
They I have to give a quick little shout out to a couple people that messaged me over the weekend from different places. I didn't even know that you were listening to the podcast. So super quick little shout out to you guys. You guys know who you are. I appreciate any message that comes through that you guys are supporting the channel and you're getting something from it. That's always the point. Makes me happy. Anything else that we need to bring up before we jump into the topic at hand?
Yeah. How was your trip?
Oh, I was for the people that don't know, I was in New York.
How was it?
It was good. I mean, I've been there a couple of times. I've been there about 4 or 5 times already.
Same as the last couple of times. Did you? I guess my thing is, did you see anything different? Was the experience any different now?
Yeah,
that
I went to different parts. I went to Jackson Heights to go have lunch. There's a couple of places that were a little sketchy, but it is what it is. We just I was always like on my toes because it was just me and my buddy. But went to a couple of places to eat food. I was kind of hungover one of those days because I kind of had a little too much fun in Jersey because I drove over to Jersey to watch a game that got canceled because of the weather. So I ended up just going around there. And it's funny because I don't think about it until I was very aware of my surroundings. Especially when I'm in places that I don't know. I always try to be hyper aware of what's going on. You never know, right? So I go there and I literally felt like you stuck out like a sore thumb. And there's just like a little bit of that like room, like you could tell everyone just kind of stared at the door. Like it was like this weird bar that I went to, dude, and it was just funny because when you can sense someone staring at you, like you just and you kind of always creep and you always have the person kind of move his head or the people move their head and they're just staring, girls included. So we had a good time. I ended up like talking to some girl there that I guess like she was with not really with someone. I mean, if she was, I feel bad for the dude, but it was just like an
Don't be like
awkward,
that dude that came to you guys.
which one?
The one, remember that you were with some girl and he just
Yeah, the
sat
one at
down and-
Hooters.
Hooters. I don't remember.
I don't
that
know.
story.
I forgot where the hell it was. Most likely it was there because that's where you be.
Anyway, there was just this guy like that just like literally made it super obvious that he like didn't want her around, and we didn't really like try. She just came to talk to us and we're just there drinking, but it was just very funny. It was like definitely not a welcoming vibe. A couple people made comments to us while we were there, so I was like, whatever, man, like I'm just here just to have some drinks, chill, relax.
Like, you know
watch
what
the
I, you know
fight.
what I, you know what I envision. You seen like in different movies, like, you know, someone steps into a room and everybody just turns and looks at the door. That's what I'm thinking of how you describe it. That as soon as you walk in, like everybody just starts, and the DJ even just messes up the song, and then everybody turns around.
I just
But
felt
I'm sure,
I felt very Jersey Shore vibe, and obviously I'm not
Uh,
Italian, so they had a lot of the Guidos there.
well, you got the hair going, you know,
Oh wow.
Yeah, but you can tell
you're
that
tan enough
but you can tell that I'm not
naturally.
Italian.
If you wanted to blend in, you should have just said "A" as your mother.
There you go.
That would have been like, oh, he's
Always
one of us.
works. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So it was
That
just
actually,
overall fun trip.
sorry to cut you off. That vibe happened to me once when I opened up the door to a comic book shop once. I was looking to go in and get like some price quotes on some Pokemon cards. Don't judge me. I was
old
with
are
my
you?
friend.
Last week.
Mid-20s range, somewhere around there. I didn't look at any of the signage on the door. I opened up the door. The whole entire like building was gutted, and they had rows of table with like a bunch of like sweat lords with like plumber's crack everywhere. They were having like a Magic the Gathering tournament, like a massive Magic the Gathering tournament, like, and they were right in the thick of it. And just the door fucking opens, and it's me and my buddy standing there, like, and everybody turned and looked, and we were like, and we just let the door close. So we were just like, not going in there. I'm good.
Yeah, overall, I appreciated the food. Always, if you go to New York, you just, I think
Good
mainly
food.
why I would go would be the food, right? So
Oh, yes.
it's got some good pizza. I ended up trying this new taco place, which my friends made fun of me because like they're like, of course you got tacos. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know there was a taco spot in New York, but the fact that it was in
What's
Times
wrong with
Square,
tacos?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with tacos
Well, then-
at any, and
Was-
but they were just, it's just because they know I eat them pretty often. I'm always like at a taco truck or something. But this place was phenomenal. Definitely gonna go again. They had ran out of the al pastor, so I was kind of yeah. But yeah, dude, it was great. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. Short trip. It was just a random last minute thing. So feeling it today. I'm not gonna lie. My brain's like all
Can't
getting
tell.
fatigued.
Can't tell.
It's because of the glasses. I wore them just to hide my tiredness. The bags under my eyes. So are we ready to jump in?
Yes.
All right.
Doctor? Is the doctor in?
One last thing. This episode's airing on Friday, right?
Correct.
Okay, so as of the airing of this episode,
I mean, hold on real quick. Did we decide Wednesday or Friday? As the listeners know, that we also changed the frequency of the episodes. We were dropping down to 2 times a week. I guess depending like on if we have interviews and stuff, we can possibly squeeze in a third that week, but just having 2 main episodes a week. But I don't know if we decided Wednesday or Friday. Yeah, it's fine.
Did not.
We let the listeners know we're transparent
Okay.
about it.
So for those of you listening on Friday or thereafter,
either way, so this Friday I have the certification exam scheduled that I told you guys about. It's literally like I just hit fuck it and went full send. So I have to get certified for my new job at Crunch. They didn't accept the certification that I had before, which is perfectly fine. And then me being me, I'm like, It's fine. So then I just registered for NASM without really realizing that NASM is like top tier certification. Like you need to know about heart valves and like all sorts of like extra stuff, very extensive. So rather than, going with the suggested 15 weeks of studying and going through the process and everything like that, I paid for it on Friday and I'm taking the test 1 week after I paid for it. So we're going with a full send. It's going to be fucking awesome. I've passed all of the practice exams. I'm taking one in the morning, one in the night, and in between I'm studying where I see gaps, such as, heart valves or their specific training model that they use or whatever. So it's very, very fun. And if I pass, when I pass, it's going to be very,
not if.
Yeah, it's going to be very sad. No, I am going to pass because I am improving my score each time on the practice exam. It's going to be a big, I don't know. I don't know if it would be like an ego boost of mine or if it would just be like a confidence boost. Just to know that I have like that kind of like base knowledge without really even needing to study for it.
If you would have went to 15 weeks, would you have not been able to work until that?
Yeah, I would have had to wait. Yeah, so I think technically I can operate under my certification for the first 90 days while I work there, assuming I'm working on one, but I would rather just go in guns blazing without having to
I just wasn't sure what their procedure would be, because in some places, as long as you're, enrolled in a course and set to take a test, that you would be, they kind of give you a pass or say that you're good because it seems like you have the intent to be to have that completed within a set period of time. So I was just curious, but that's not going to be an issue because you're passing it on Friday.
I am going to pass it on Friday at 9 a.m. It's an online proctored exam. It takes 2 hours, or they give you 2 hours. I'm reaching a passing score in 30 minutes though, so it'll be interesting. I'll tell you all about it when next time we meet.
Jesus Christ, 30 minutes?
Hey man, if you know it, you know it. If you don't,
okay,
make an educated guess and move on. But actually, there are multiple choice. This is literally how I passed high school. Multiple choice questions are so easy to make a good really guess on. And then later on, there's another question that covers the same topic. You can use the context clues of that question to go back to number 27 and realize that, oh no, it's not this, it's that. Because this question over here, they're talking about something else entirely using that same term. You just need some context clues. Think about it. Use your brain. It's fine.
This is true.
It's going to be fun.
You're going to be fine, bro. You're Dr. Mike for a reason.
This is true.
Talking about Dr. Mike, we're going to need you to break down the chest. Like I said at the beginning, ladies, this is beneficial to you. Guys, this is also to make your training more efficient, to build and develop your chest, which are important. I mean, you want to have a good, obviously we would cover back in the future, stuff like that. But, for the most part, we want to focus on, properly picking exercise, understanding the anatomy. So you understand what exercises go where and why you're doing it. And just get an all-around well-developed chest. I think for a guy, obviously we all know that developing a chest drastically changes your physique on how it looks. Obviously the back, shoulders, and the chest are very, very predominant on that that wide V taper, little waist illusion. So to get into it, break down the anatomy a little bit, things that you need to understand when it comes to the chest. That way you understand why you're training specific angles and maybe changing the setup a little bit. Mike?
Yes. So just to kind of piggyback a little bit off what Jonathan said, and to kind of further drive the point that this applies to both men and women, it is scientifically proven that swollen pecs lead to sex.
Wow.
And that's male or female. So
this is true.
This applies to everybody. So basically with any muscle, we have an origin and an insertion. And with any exercise for any given muscle, you're looking to bring the insertion towards the origin. That would be the contraction. So with the chest muscle, pectoralis major, the origin is up here in the clavicle along the sternum, and then it goes down the sternum about 6 ribs, I think. And the insertion is up here in the top of the humerus. So basically the very top of your armpit, very top of your arm bone, deep inside that shoulder structure. So with any chest exercise, when you're stretching, say we're doing a bench press, you start at the top, everything's contracted. The insertion is closer to the origin. The armpit insertion is closer to the sternum origin. As you come down, the armpit gets further away, thereby stretching the muscle. And then as you push, you're bringing the insertion closer to the origin. It's contracting. That's where you're generating force. Of course, there's other muscles that are helping along the way. It's not strictly a chest exercise. You're getting triceps and lats and whatever else. Now, this is where like different angles come into play. Now, since it is 6 ribs, that's, I don't know, maybe the width of your hand if you're a decently sized hand person, I guess. You can change the angle, i.e. incline or decline, and you can specifically target one section over another section. So if you're at a slight incline, like an incline bench press, you're going to be targeting a little bit more of that top part up here near the shoulder, near the clavicle. And then likewise, if you were to go decline, you'd be getting a little bit more of that Vin Diesel underboob part of the chest. So I don't know that there's necessarily anything else I need to add.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, yeah. I mean,
Out of all people,
maybe
I know.
Did I just like age myself? Okay, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
he'd be a better example.
Okay, well,
He's got underboob action going.
I mean, Vin Diesel. Back in the day,
we could have just used Gabe. Like Gabe has underboob action happening.
Oh, I do.
I'm working on my underboob.
Like he gets humidity from the underboob action.
This is true. Like I get the sweats like right here. Sweat mark.
So no, that's perfect. Just to kind of break it down, we don't want to get too like nerdy with it. We did drop another episode way back in the day, but I feel like it's worth bringing up this topic and maybe kind of reiterating some points and maybe adding some. So the ideal that we're going to explain this from a hypertrophy standpoint, which all that means is muscle size. There's obviously other modalities you can train that all contribute to muscle growth. That is a fact. But if you're talking about efficiency with developing the chest, we know that time after time, the ideal rep range is between the 8 to 12, 8 to 15 rep range to, push more of that hypertrophy adaptation than just pure raw strength, which is in that kind of that lower. Like I said, they both contribute. So I wouldn't say just stick only with hypertrophy, but for the most part, probably your best bet for efficiency would be in that higher rep range. Just because you put more stress on the fibers for more time, more volume, it just exerts the muscle more.
Time under tension.
Just really quick, I would probably add to that where even if that is where you're typically at, you would always want to phase in and out of your different type of rep ranges, right? If you don't want to just, change up your exercises, you can keep your exercises the same, but just maybe change your rep ranges, right? So 8 to 15, even 2 to 6 or 2 to 4s or whatever, that you get some good stuff out of that. And even 15 plus, right? Like 15 to 20. Have you guys done that? 20? It's fucking
very
sucks.
rare. Haven't lately, but I have. Sucks.
But some things I do, yeah.
The reason why you usually don't push past that point is you start getting more of an endurance response to the muscle. Mm-hmm. It doesn't signal for more of that growth because the load can't be that heavy for that 20 rep range. If you can push a weight for 20 reps consecutively, you want to bump the weight up and maybe drop down. Also, if you don't have to pump that much volume, it's not as with, when it comes to efficiency, then drop down to more of that moderate rep range that you can still push heavy weight, still get those strength adaptations, but you're getting also the enough volume that's going to trigger hypertrophy. So I think that covers that point. What's kind of more ideal for that? Anything we need to add? Good.
No.
All right. So the next thing is we can talk about different exercises. This is kind of where people are going to really want to just make sure you take a couple notes, some points that we may cover here that may be like things like, oh, I didn't know this exercise was good for this. And common misconceptions too, because I think that if you're struggling to build your chest, you may be doing some of these mistakes. That's just quite common from our experience working with people. You may fall victim to these just training myths when it comes to the chest. Stuff that I did too that wasn't ideal, just kind of hurt more than anything. Common misconception is flaring the elbows too much when you're doing any type of pressing. It looks like what Gabe is doing. It looks like your elbows are out to the side like a T.
Like you're leaning like a cholo.
Correct. So basically, when you're in that position, you're a bit more vulnerable. Some people argue that it's, oh, I'm going to be able to stretch the chest out more and all that. But when you really break down the fibers, you don't need to be in that position. And on the contrary, too, it actually puts your shoulders in a more vulnerable position. Over time, you're just going to demolish that joint and those ligaments.
Wouldn't that impede the amount of stretch that you can put onto the chest, right? Because if I'm flaring out my leg, my arms, this is about as far as I can go. I can't go any further. However, if I tuck my elbows in, I'm able to go deeper and give it a more of a stretch.
Yeah,
so it might impede your range of motion whenever you are pressing.
That's my understanding of it as well. If you're flaring your elbows out super hard, the bar or the dumbbell or the machine or whatever you're using is typically going to come up a little bit higher. Typically for like a pressing motion, for most people, obviously, like your humerus length plays a big part in where the bar is going to land on your chest. But for most people, it's around the nipple line. So with that being said, you can't flare your elbows out at a perfect 90-degree angle and still hit that nipple line unless you're doing something really weird at your elbow joint.
You're rotating the shoulder almost downwards.
Yeah. So it's not even like an ideal place to go if you're trying to target your chest. If your elbows are way out here, the bar's going to end more like clavicle area or like your neck even, which I don't have to explain why landing on your neck is a bad choice. So yeah, I mean, generally for it depends on the person where, maybe you want a little bit of an elbow flare depending on how long your arms are and where you're most comfortable with your grip. But for the most part, I mean, somewhere between right up against your rib cage and flared out at 90 degrees, as long as it's comfortable and it's hitting about the mid part of your chest, it's probably a pretty decent angle. And it'll honestly, just from like personal experience of coaching people, it just feels right when you find the right spot. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
And that's kind of like what I say. Like, I don't give it an exact degree or how much they need to bend or flare out their elbows or not. I just say, okay, anywhere in between this range, kind of like how you mentioned, Mike, where anywhere between here, 90 degrees and elbow tucked in, somewhere in there, you'll find a good place. And once you find it that's comfortable, then you can press it without being any kind of an issue, then you're good to go.
You have more support in that position either way. So it allows you to push more weight without, compromising your shoulder. Over time, that's going to get beat up. But all great points. The exercises that we kind of recommend, I'll give just a few on my end. I know that the barbell has been bashed a lot when it comes to just overall hypertrophy training.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it depends on you and your goals. Barbells are pretty functional and they allow you to add a tremendous amount of resistance. So for some people, like I've received tons of benefits from training with a barbell. I can't say that it's useless and it's not good. For some people, it may just not be good. And we'll kind of explain as to why, but I was very fortunate that I'm able to establish a very good connection and able to apply tension to the chest with a barbell or with dumbbells. So with the barbell itself, I felt I was able to just get just as much work on the fibers. Of course, you're limited on the full contraction because your hands are in a fixed position. That's where people will also argue as to why you're not maximizing hypertrophy. Sure. But like I said, I've trained with barbell, I've trained with dumbbell. I've gotten benefits from both. I can't say that the dumbbells necessarily accelerated my gains, or that the barbell slowed it down. So this is a bit subjective, but it's going to be based on you, on how you feel the chest. Now, if you're someone that struggles with connectivity to the chest, like you just don't feel it, then I would argue an incline and a dumbbell, an incline and a flat version with dumbbells may be more appropriate for you. Just so you can establish that stability, that balance. Shit, I right now train with more dumbbell, honestly, with most of my exercises. I just feel better when it comes to pressing motions. I've been enjoying it a lot. But when I used to train chasing the gains and chasing just to get as much as possible out of it, I did both. And I played a lot with the barbell too. I enjoyed it, flat and incline for sure.
Personally, I would lean more towards the barbell as opposed to the dumbbells. Not to say that I don't use them at all. I maybe like a 80-20% as to how often I use the barbell to dumbbell. What I do like about using dumbbells is, one, sure, you're getting just a little bit more of a stretch, right? Because of not having that bar in that where you're just unable to bring it down any further. But more so, it kind of helps to identify any type of imbalance that you may have between your left and your right arm. Oh, I'm actually pushing it more, it's harder on this side than that side, and I really don't see that when I'm doing with the barbell. So that's what I typically like to use dumbbells for, is to kind of like just to check and just to make sure that I'm as even as possible on both sides when I'm doing my chest presses. And as far as incline or flat, I've done flat for like forever, but just more recently, when I say recently, I mean the past couple of years, maybe like 3-4 years, I've more leaned towards incline as opposed to flat. Since it's the, allegedly or quote unquote the harder version, I just have always wanted just to have my incline catch up to my flat, and I think I'm kind of close there. So that's what I do. So I anytime I train chest, it's always regardless if it's dumbbell or barbell, it's going to be incline.
Real quick, do you guys mess around very much with like a low incline bench press? So instead of doing like the whatever, like a standard incline, what is that?
I was, I was going to ask you guys, like, what do you have a notch where you kind of like go? I kind of do more of like a lower, maybe like if you think of an adjustable bench, I do like either 2 or 3 clicks above a flat, if that makes.
Yeah,
I think technically where I press is at a 30-degree angle, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's each notch is 10 degrees. I do about a 30-degree angle, 33 to the square. But basically what you're talking about, a lower incline, is probably 1 notch above flat.
Yeah.
I do, but honestly, I spent more time based on how you're set up. I play more in that 30 range. Most of the time, it's very rare if I drop into that mid incline. For my ladies, I prefer putting them in that position in the 30 degree. Most of them just respond better, and I think that's going to be more functional to them. Guys, I stress the incline more now than flat than ever before, because
me too.
How difficult in the upper chest sometimes is to develop for some people. If you can develop an upper chest, which people slack on, I know I did when I was younger, I kind of focused just heavily on the flat. It's gonna give you more of that aesthetically appeasing, look for your chest. It's gonna look more complete, more full. When you're wearing t-shirts, you know what I'm talking about, tank tops. But just from an overall perspective, it just gives the chest, even if your chest is not super thick, the development of the upper chest, it just looks better. It's more functional. I feel it kind of protects you in other areas when it comes to your shoulders and all that other stuff.
I've been messing around with the low incline, like that 10-15 degree click on the adjustable bench a lot more recently, and I've been enjoying it. Maybe I'm suffering a little bit from like not being specific enough, because it's not exactly targeting the upper, it's not exactly targeting the lower. But since it is so new to me, I haven't really done very much of it at all up until the last couple months. I feel like I'm getting pretty good response out of it. That being said, I did want to throw the other options into the ring. You guys covered dumbbells, barbells. There are also body weight, and there are also machine exercises that we can do here. I'm going to start with body weight, because everybody has body weight, unless you're fucking Casper or something. And that's a really good option. I don't know that you're necessarily going to get like the best gains of your life, but if you're doing a dumbbell press or a barbell press of some kind, and then following it up with maybe some push-ups or banded push-ups or deficit push-ups or tempo push-ups of some kind, it can be a really great option for adding some extra volume without necessarily taxing your systems too much, because it's just body weight. You should be pretty adequately prepared for handling your own body weight most of the time. I'll throw machines in there as well. For the biggest problem with machines is that they're kind of designed to fit the average person. So if you don't have the average person size, if you're 5 foot tall or if you're 6'8" like LeBron, machines aren't going to quite work too well for you, because you're just not sized appropriately for them. But if you fall within that average range, doing something like a machine press isn't necessarily an awful idea. Again, it's kind of similar to that body weight stuff where it's just not as taxing to your CNS. It's not as taxing on your joints because it's a fixed range of motion. It's a predetermined path. All you really have to do is push. So even to that degree, it can be a little easy to do incorrectly if you're not good at engaging your chest, or if you're not quite familiar with what muscle should be doing what during the process. If you just sit down and start pushing, then you'll probably feel it most in your arms. But it can be a good way to add extra volume if that's what you're looking for.
I concur. No, but I definitely like to play with, probably my top tools right now for chest development have been incline, flat, dumbbell primarily. And then I've been playing a lot with the cable, and the cable angle. I put it, you can target, your overall pec major and then your pec minor based on the positioning of your handles. If it's coming from low to high, you're primarily focusing on upper. If you're coming from high to low or high to mid, you're kind of be working more of the pec major when it comes to.
Are we talking about flies here?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to specify.
Yes, cable flies. And then I actually, ironically enough, we talked about machines briefly. I've been doing just the horizontal press with a pec deck, and it's honestly great way to add more intensity to my chest day without the fear of like dropping the dumbbells or getting stuck. You can kind of push yourself closer to that failure mark, which I kind of didn't put at the hypertrophy part of the episode. But just a real quick make a note is if you're struggling to develop your chest too, or if you're struggling to develop any muscle at this point, you need to train also hard enough to create this change. And I'm not saying to like fail at every single set, but you definitely want to be pushing your limits and testing yourself. And I think that machines and cables allow this safe way to exert yourself in your session where you really push yourself. I wouldn't max out every single time on dumbbell or barbell exercises, but when it comes to cable flies and machine, you can actually push the limit there and really take yourself to that next level.
Hey, there we go.
I actually have someone that when they messaged, they wrote to me in Spanish and they put the next level, but in Spanish. And I thought that was badass. And they actually put it in quotation marks. Super cool. What else? I mean, well, that's basically my point when it comes to the machines, the cables. It allows you to push that effort. You need that for ideally just to grow and just get stronger. That's like with both principles. But that's my point.
With the just what I wanted to mention, you mentioned the push-up or the body weight. You would probably want to do the same exact, grip or positioning of your arms or your elbows when you're doing this motion, right? It wouldn't be anything different. This is a good regression from like a barbell or a dumbbell kind of exercise. And it's something where, I like to include that as well every now and then for myself or for someone else, for a client. I would probably have them make sure they can handle their own body weight prior to doing moving them or progressing them up to a barbell or a chest press, or just as an evaluation, just to see if they're able to use their body weight for this motion.
I like it.
Word.
Yeah, the body weight's also cool because you can do them pretty often. It's a little bit less taxing than really loading with dumbbells or barbells. Then you obviously have the machines variations, cables included, and then you can even add a body weight training element to your push day or your chest day. It's a great way to kind of make a complete program. Start with the harder stuff, the more technical stuff, and then kind of move your way down to some machine work, cable work, and then finish off. Finishers could be a variation of a push-up or a dip, anything that kind of angles you to challenge the chest. We didn't actually include the decline push-up. I personally don't use it much.
I don't.
You can make a very small decline with your flat bench. If you have an adjustable bench, you can put like a plate underneath and kind of angle. That's what some people will benefit from this. But ideally, you can get away with not. If you want to stimulate those fibers, Doing a high to low cable fly does a fantastic job, as well as a traditional barbell dip with a lean forward. You're gonna get a lot of that lower chest, if you will. And I put air quotes for the listeners, but it's it's to focus on separating it that much. You're probably spinning your wheels, and we're talking about just efficiency here.
Mm.
You want to talk about real quick about frequency when it comes to these guys?
See.
I
What'd
would
you say
say
for that?
we'll kind of go across the board and see what we think.
Real quick, this is what I was going to say before you mentioned about the frequency. One of my preferred versions of a push-up would be more of a, as soon as you kind of like a hand release kind of push-up, where you get down to the ground. Essentially, your chest is on the ground, and you pick your hands up off of the floor, and then you essentially push up after that. And I find this to be a little bit better because one, it emphasizes the full range of motion, and two, it makes sure that I don't know. I feel like you kind of not so much engage it, but just you just get into more bang out of your buck when you're doing it like that. Because most of the times you might not want to go for the full range, or it just at least not constantly. You're not saying to yourself, "Oh, let me just half-ass this," or "Let me just half rep this," but just to let you kind of like go through the full range when you're doing that type of that version of a push-up. That's me personally.
Perfect.
Frequency.
Yeah, and as you can see, listeners, it's pretty straightforward. We don't have any crazy side pec, sitting on the machine sideways and pressing all these different variations.
As you say that, what do you feel about the pullover?
And I was going to
Barbell or
say
dumbbell pullover.
landmine
I would
press.
I would include it in my day, but as far as like for this purpose of efficiency, I think that most people wouldn't get that much out of it from doing a pullover. Now, I would argue some people you get something, you get some stretch in the chest, but I would probably add that more on a pull day, having that more staple there, getting more lat dominant from it.
Yep.
But for most people, to keep it the kind of the main stuff that I would go to with most of my clients is focusing on those different angles of pressing and then throwing in some variation of cable and machine and then a body weight version of a chest set. That's my personal experience, just because it's harder to cue and you need X amount of range of motion for the shoulders, I feel, to get more of that stretch that for the average person, I wouldn't include it the first thing. And probably more advanced later on, I would throw it in there for someone with the intention of chest. I would be cueing the positioning of the elbows and all that, the hand placement, everything would matter. But yeah, frequency for the muscle. Max, I would go training chest or incorporating these variations would be about 3 times a week at the most for most average person training, to about, I think, twice a week is also phenomenal. Now, if you, this is with keeping volume in mind, I would say roughly, this is subjective once again, depending on your level, but if you've been training consistently, an average place to be is anywhere from, I think, 9 sets per week to about 15 to 20 sets per week. And this is like more of my advanced people. That's why I like breaking it up. I feel like you can apply more volume throughout the week if you break it up more. Now, if you go one nice hard chest day per week and that's all you can afford, let's say you did literally a push pull legs one cycle for the week, then you would apply a little bit more volume, about maybe 15 to 16 sets of push movements, not just all chest, but just of pushing exercises, tries and shoulders included. So you're actually looking at only about 8 to 9 sets, probably that workout for just chest. Then the other sets are going to be per other body parts.
So depending on where you're at with your training and how much time you're allotting to the gym during the week, if you have less days, you would bunch them up into those days. But the more that you'd have, the more that you would spread out. And the great thing about spreading it out more so is if you bunch it all up into, like, let's just say one day, what are you going to do? You're going to do all of these kind of things, right? Like, you're going to do the barbells, the dumbbells, the cables, maybe some machines or whatever, right? But if you were to split it up, then you can focus more so on the ones that give you the biggest bang for your buck, or the ones that you need the more help with, right? Like, for instance, if I'm at a point where I say, hey, I want to put more to I guess to your point earlier, to the bottom portion of my chest, well, I might want to include on each and every single day that high to low cable. Right. I think that's what you mentioned, the high to low for focusing on that portion of your chest. Right. So if that's my intention, then I would put more of a focus on those and include that one movement, maybe 2 to 3 or however many days that it is that I'm going. I would put more emphasis on that that motion. Word.
I think that just to kind of, I think that something that came to mind is normally preference wise, I like 2 times a week. I think that's more than enough and to get a good chest workout because you can keep the intensity pretty high. I think that don't get too wrapped up, I'm sorry, with trying to incorporate so many chest days with like actual hard push days. Like dedicate max 3, like I said, but I would argue 1 to 2 hard days to start and see how your chest feels and how it's recovering, because you got to be able to recover from these workouts. Obviously, if you train them more frequent, the intensity would naturally have to be less, which doesn't mean that you won't get benefit. But as you get more advanced, I feel like if you minimize the days to 2 days, maybe 1, and give it a nice good push, intensity levels, your recovery is good, you can really challenge yourself and actually put more, because like we have to account for the intensity per set, like per session. If you train every day your chest, but the intensity is so low that you're barely breaking a sweat or you don't feel anything, then you're not going to be getting much out of it, which I doubt anyone's really doing. But common mistake is thinking so many days of hard days where your joints are getting banged up. You're not recovering from your workouts. Your strength is going down. You want to be pushing your strength and progress the weight forward. Making sure that you're not overly sore if you're training more days a week, and make sure you're pushing yourself where you're getting damn near close that limit when you do work out. That's going to be, make sure you eat and recover, sleep, all that good stuff. But as far as that would be a nice recipe for developing your chest, your strength. Muscle will typically follow, keeping within these principles, these parameters of rep ranges and sets and frequency will be boom. You'll have some slabs of meat just to show off, men, ladies, and gentlemen.
This is true. I like it.
Me too. Thanks.
Anything else?
Dr. Mike, is there anything you would like to add, or do you need to go to another appointment?
Yeah, I've got a tracheotomy in 30 minutes. I don't even know what a tracheotomy I don't even know what that is.
Isn't that where you I guess someone can't breathe and you put like a hole in their throat or something?
I think that's
them
what that
to
is.
be able to breathe.
Sure, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Okay. Or they will. Maybe they won't.
I'll just say I concur, and I'll have one of the interns do it.
There you go. That's just actually
for anyone that doesn't know where that comes from. You know where that comes from, right?
Catch Me If You Can.
Yep. Great movie.
Awesome.
It's that witty style. Anyways,
I
wrap
concur.
us up, boys. Close this up here. And this was a fun episode. I think very informative. Anyone that can benefit from this, definitely share this with someone that there's like, I know some people literally hire me because I want to build a bigger chest or I want to get stronger at this. Share this episode. Let them know where they can get some the best information of fitness that they'll ever find. Like, why go anywhere else?
Nowhere else. It's pointless. So let me get you. This is one that my daughter actually said to me, and wow. I thought it was pretty funny. So she goes, my dog's friend died, and to cheer them up, I tried to get him another one. Made the friend even more upset. They go, "What the hell am I going to do with 2 dead dogs?"
Jesus. You were proud of her at that moment.
I was. Mike?
I have a riddle for you.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Awesome.
Okay, I actually have a few that we can maybe fall back to. But
okay.
What has to be broken before you can use it?
I feel like I had it, and then...
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Yeah.
What is it?
It's an egg.
Okay.
Fuck.
Okay. What question can you never answer yes to?
Are you dead?
That's actually really close. Are you asleep yet?
Yes.
Technically, if they have
All
a
right.
subconscious thing, they make a sound, you can respond.
All right.
Yeah.
Last one.
Okay.
What is always in front of you but can't be seen?
Air.
No.
Your forehead? I don't know.
No. Your future.
nose.
Uh,
Fuck. This is frustrating. I'm
we
already
see the
pissed
future,
off.
and it's bright.
Boom. Well, listeners, if you're just as frustrated as I am, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on audio platforms, on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, whatever. If you can, leave a 5-star rating and review. Even if it's just a 5-star, we want to get those ratings up, guys. It's going to really just help to push the podcast further up the algorithm and reach more people and just provide this quality information. If you want to check us out on Instagram, check us out at The Next Level Show. My personal account is at John Alva Fitness. Gabe is at Prime and Glory. And Mr. Mike is at Mike Nillis PT. Until the next one.